I'm going to bet you that you're going to hear from more and more MLAs from both sides of the aisle. You know, one of the it's so fortunate that we're in a system, we're in a country where somebody like me can go from business right into the legislature and have an opportunity to speak up and do things. But the level of understanding needs to go up. The level of direction needs to go up, and I think Albertans have to get more involved in what their expectations are from their legislature. You know, the fact that cabinet, the premier have so much singular authority maybe has to be challenged. And of course, as a conservative, as a family and a free enterprise person, where I start is government's too big. Government is too big of our economy. There's too many rules and regulations, and that's where it needs to start. We need to limit the size of government so families and free enterprise can be bigger.
So let's talk about that for a second,
Okay.
because on your website you talk about smaller government, lower taxes, and choice.
All right.
Yeah. So smaller government, you just touched on that a little bit. What does that look like?
Well, there's 5 principles I try to weigh everything against, and they're conservative principles. First of all, smaller government, more free enterprise, call it either one. Secondly is fairness, and then some equity, then some choice, and local decision making. Those are my 5 key things. So, smaller government. I'll start an article I read about a month ago. It talked about how the maximum size of government in an economy to maximize growth is 33-34%. Before the pandemic, in Canada, government was around 42-43%. I read something recently, because of all the money printed and all the government spending, government could be as much as 58% of our economy now.
Yeah, if you look at the indirect correlation through associations, organizations.
Yeah. So
and the unions.
A lot of control there, right? A lot of lack of choice, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that we'd be further served as a growth organization, as a society, if government was a bit smaller. Certainly, people run their businesses as family way more efficient than government ever could. Milton Friedman is one of my favorite economists and favorite people that I've read and quote. And one of his theories of money is the efficiencies of spending money. The most efficient way to spend money is you spend your own money on yourself. You know exactly what you want and you shop for a good deal. The least efficient way to spend money is you spend somebody else's money on somebody else. That's what government does.
Wasn't it Margaret Thatcher who said the problem with socialism is you'll eventually run out of other people's money?
Exactly, and maybe we're close to that now. Look at Canada's $1.2 trillion in debt, and I don't believe that includes all the deferred pension obligations. I don't believe that includes all the obligations that are out there. Trudeau has doubled it in just 6 years.
We just had a conversation about that last week, about the debt and the deficit spending that's going on. And I think Canada right now is number one.
Number one?
We're number one.
Number one.
In debt to GDP, I think it was.
Yeah.
I'm like, of all the G20 countries, that's a little scary.
Well, very, very scary, especially when we've stopped trusting free enterprise. We've stopped developing our commodity markets. We've stopped resource movement. We've never had good free trade in Canada.
We can't trade amongst the provinces,
yeah.
let alone.
Yeah, let alone.
And yet, it is easier to do business in the United States than it is in our own country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
in many cases.
In many cases, because of the free trade rules among states, compared to the protectionism that's happened in Canada. Hopefully politicians, hopefully Canadians, hopefully Albertans will see that as a silver lining out of this. Is let's get back to work. Let's trust resource movement. The world needs our commodities. We're the best at it. And let's trust free trade.